Okay, we're zoomed in a bit. I want to show you some of these deeper muscles that are deeper to this dorsal view of the forelimb and scapular region. So a few things that I've done here is I've taken my acromiotrapezius and I've cut that, my clavotrapezius and I cut that. And you can see here is also my levator scapula that's going down to the scapula. This was part of my acromiotrapezius. I cut my spinotrapezius and I've cut latissimus dorsi. So now that we can look deeper to those muscles. And I'll just work my way through the deep forelimb muscles on the lateral view just like you have on your handout. So if we're looking at the scapula, you can see as I move this around, you can see the scapula. You're not actually seeing the bone, you're seeing the muscles on top of that scapula. If you remember how the scapula bony landmarks were, you have the spine of the scapula running down like this. So if I'm looking at something like my acromiotrapezius, it's attaching to that spine. If I had my spinotrapezius in here, it was attaching to that spine as well. The acromiotrapezius is actually connecting more anteriorly to that acromion process, but you can use that as kind of a landmark right here to show where that spine would be. So if I'm dorsal to that spine, remember what fossa that was. That was my suprascapular fossa. The muscle that attaches to that is the supraspinatus. Sorry, it was the supraspinous fossa. That muscle that attaches to that is the supraspinatus. The fossa below the spine was the infraspinous fossa. Infraspinous fossa. If I move some of these muscles out of the way, you see down here I have a muscle that's deep to everything, and it's sitting on that fossa. This muscle is my infraspinatus muscle. If I keep working my way ventral, I have another muscle that comes off. This would be teres major. It's coming off of the back angle, the posterior angle of the scapula, and it's running to the humerus. Teres major. Teres major runs into the humerus, about here let's say. Then you have further down pectoralis major. So I have teres major, pectoralis major. In between those on the humerus, right in between the two majors, is latissimus dorsi, a miss between two majors. Teres major, infraspinatus. It's hard to see with this camera angle. I'll see what I can do for you. This was my lateral head of my tricep. If I look all the way in here, there's a little tiny muscle way far in there. And that would be teres minor. Know it's there. I'm likely not going to be able to quiz you on that. But teres minor is coming off of the scapula as well, running to the humerus. These muscles, supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, these are known as your rotator cuff muscles. In addition to those, if we looked on the other side of the scapula, the medial side, up against the rib cage would be down this way. This is subscapularis. Remember, the subscapular fossa was down there, and attaching to that is subscapularis. And that's also going to my humerus. That's also a rotator cuff muscle. While we're in here, you can see this muscle coming off. This is actually a rather broad muscle that runs all underneath the scapula. This is my serratus ventralis. I'm going to come back to this in just a little bit. Coming from the scapula to basically the vertebrae, all of these here are my rhomboides. And in particular, the rhomboides that's most anterior runs up to the head, the skull. So we refer to this one as rhomboides capitis. Cap. Think about you put a cap on your head. Rhomboides capitis. The rest of them are just my rhomboides. Below those, deeper, is serratus ventralis. If I go back over to more of a ventral view, I have this muscle here. This is also serratus ventralis. Serratus ventralis, like I said, is a large sheet-like muscle. Starts here. Here's my finger on the other side, and here below my finger still is serratus ventralis. Serratus ventralis. What else? I feel like I might be missing one. I think that'll do it. Good. I think we've covered everything on there. Just a second. Let's flip our cat over. We are missing one. I didn't dissect this side yet. Let's do this real quick. I'm cutting through my pecto antebrachialis and my pectoralis major. And I'm doing that so that I can pick out one more muscle. So remember, this was my clavotrapezius, right? Below my clavotrapezius is my biceps brachii. And it's easier to see from this view, which is why I cut through pectoralis major and pecto antebrachialis, because it's coming off of right here. It's coming off right at that where the humerus joins with the scapula. So I've cut through pectoralis major and pecto antebrachialis, and deep to those is my biceps brachii. clean this up a little bit. Here you are. So this was clavotrapezius. This one right here, this was pectoralis antebrachium. And deep to all of that, here you go, biceps brachii. More of my pectoralis. This is pectoralis major. Pectoralis major. Pectoralis brachialis, clavotrapezius, biceps brachii. Here's an awesome nerve complex that we'll learn later. Perhaps. We might not learn that later. Cool. Those are all of the muscles that we need for the forelimb and the anterior portion of the trunk. Next we'll go to the neck. Once we're done with the neck, then we'll go down to the posterior side of our cat, to the obliques, the abdominal muscles, and then we'll go to the hind limb, and then we're done.